Omar Baddar, Deputy Director of the Arab American Institute, and Qanta Ahmed, author of Land of Invisible Women and a Middle East analyst. Omar, first to you. What do you make of this resolution that Congress is taking up tomorrow?
Well, the resolution is kind of absurd because what Ilhan was talking about is specifically criticism of the Israeli government's mistreatment and atrocities that are committed against the Palestinian people, atrocities that are documented by every major human rights organization, including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, and even Israeli human rights organizations, and essentially a critique of people who are pushing for that support in the U.S., for U.S. support for these crimes. And there are people who don't want to have an honest conversation about that. And so they deflect from that conversation simply by smearing Ilhan Omar, by putting words in her mouth, by effectively accusing her of talking about the American Jewish community when she's absolutely made no reference to the American Jewish community whatsoever. And, you know, sometimes, though, it slips what this is really about, as you saw with Congressman Juan Vargas, who tweeted that questioning in response to Ilhan, saying that questioning U.S. support for Israel is, quote, unacceptable. Well, I'm sorry, Congressman, it's not only acceptable to have debates about foreign policy issues, I think it's a moral obligation to question U.S. support for Israel, because any American with a conscience should be concerned about the fact that our tax dollars are being used to commit atrocities and land theft in Palestine.
Qanta, what do you think? Is Ilhan Omar being smeared? Where does the line cross, in your view, between legitimate criticism of the state of Israel and anti-Semitism? How do you see her comments?
Omar has had a series of remarks, in her written remarks, in her spoken remarks, which actually don't add up to foreign policy critique, and I say that as a member of a foreign policy think tank and also as a member of the Shoah Foundation. She has used ugly stereotypes about anti-Semitism, the hypnotism of America by Israel, referring to money, referring to Jews as covert influences, and referring to the lobby. These are the most ancient structures of anti-Semitism that you can read about. Today, citing anti-Zionism is a clothing for much anti-Semitism. I actually agree with the other speaker. Every human rights violation in every country should be condemned, and we should work as a democratic society to challenge it. And I agree that that is something we should examine in Israel, just as we do in countries like Pakistan, where I'm from, or Saudi Arabia, or anywhere else.
But Qanta, to the point you were making about
Sorry,
I know, but we can't just go on and on. I want to focus the conversation a little bit, because Ilhan Omar, she has said specifically when asked about this, she was not saying anything anti-Jewish. She was simply criticizing the U.S. relationship with the current government of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu.
That is not her sole remark. That is not her sole remark.
That is what she has said when she was asked about this.
Excuse me. That is not her sole remark. Additionally, as soon as she is exposed as an anti-Semitic as a person who endorses, who engages with anti-Semitism, who stands and gives keynote addresses to charities that have been indicted by 3 Muslim governments and a Swedish government as financing Islamist terrorism that also has a spirit of anti-Semitism in it. She now shapeshifts, as is typical of Islamists, and says that I am now a victim of Islamophobia. As a Muslim, I find that repugnant. As a Muslim who's raised money for Palestinians in the Palestinian territory at the request of Hadassah Hospital, a Jewish hospital, I find that repugnant. And as a Muslim combating anti-Semitism, that is repugnant. The resolution, I agree with Omar. I agree with Omar. The resolution is futile.
The Democrats have missed a legitimate opportunity. Again, Omar, what about the argument that Ilhan Omar does have a lengthy record of saying things that many people consider to be offensive?
No, Qanta is just one of many people who are basically having phantom debates with things that they would like to impose on Ilhan Omar that she has not actually said. It would be much more refreshing to have debates with things that she actually has said. And if you look at her record, there absolutely has never been any reference to covert Jewish action in the U.S. She spoke about the fact that AIPAC does try to influence politics with money, which is absolutely a fact.
She has done nothing else but use ancient tropes of anti-Semitism. If she wants to be taken seriously,
that's entirely absurd. In order for something to be an anti-Semitic trope, it has to be directed at Jews. And when it's not directed at Jews, then it's not an anti-Semitic trope. Calling out the fact that AIPAC uses money to influence politics is simply a fact. You can go to AIPAC's own website and look at the fact that they tell people that in order to join their congressional club, they have to dedicate thousands of dollars every election cycle to pro-Israel candidates. This idea that every other lobby we're allowed to talk about the gun lobby, that we're allowed to talk about the oil lobby, And the
We're
fossil
allowed to
fuel
talk
lobby,
about-
but only the Israel lobby we're not allowed to talk about. It's completely and
That's not
utterly
true.
absurd.
That's absolutely not true. She attacked
Ilhan talks
American
about,
Jews.
Ilhan, for example,
she
calls
attacked
for a boycott
American
of Saudi
Jews for
Arabia.
having
Does that mean she's
dual loyalty
anti-Muslim?
to this nation. That is not true, and I will
She never
have
said
my
anything about
say.
American Jews having
I will
dual
have
loyalty.
my
You are
say.
making this up. I mean, just have the decency.
not.
Can you
I'm
cite it?
absolutely not.
When did she say that Jews have dual loyalty to the U.S.? When did she say
She
that?
said she questions citizens
I
who
challenge
have
you to
dual
produce
loyalty
a single
to the
fact
United
that she made that
States.
reference.
She said
What did she say?
She said that she challenges those citizens who have dual loyalty and conflicted loyalty to the United States.
That is utterly, utterly ridiculous. She
It
has
has
never
been
made that
widely
comment. You know, if
published.
you're
And by the
referring to
way-
the, if you, it is, I was at the event where she was speaking. I was standing a few feet away from her, and she was making a reference about the fact that people were putting pressure on her to have some kind of allegiance to Israel in order for her to serve in Congress. It was not a reference to the American Jewish community.
That's not true.
And
And
frankly,
let me
when you
just
look
say,
at members of
Ilhan
Congress
Omar
like
pledges
Juan
allegiance
Vargas
to Israel.
demanding that she not
Listen,
question the
the
relationship
other
with Israel,
speaker-
then you can see that this is where this comes from.
Excuse me, I'm going to take my airtime. I am not going to stand here and
By
be
all
called
means.
a liar, which
Yes,
is what
but just
you're
try
doing.
not to insult the
Instead of
audience by telling them
attacking
things
the
that are not
ideas.
true.
You are attacking the ideas. This woman is polarizing. This woman endorses Islamist anti-Semitism. The progressives who've embraced her have made a Faustian bargain, and she does not enhance the benefits of the human rights of Palestinians or Israelis, of which 23%
let's try to broaden this out. Qanta, let's try to take it away from this woman just for 1 second. Just for 1 second, let's try to take it away from this woman, Ilhan Omar. And I want to, Qanta, draw your attention to a statement that Omar Baddar mentioned, and that is Congressman Juan Vargas, a Democrat from California, said that questioning support for the U.S.-Israel relationship is unacceptable. Do you agree or disagree with that?
No, I think every relationship the United States engages in with a foreign nation is up for scrutiny. It's up for intellectual scrutiny, it's up for financial scrutiny, it's up for political scrutiny. But that is not her spirit. And if the Democratic Party does not see that this woman is completely unfit to be on a foreign affairs committee, then the Democratic Party's future is a Faustian bargain with Islamism.
But to that very point, using your logic,
Frankly,
should Congressman Vargas then not be on a foreign affairs committee or any committee, given that he says that it is unacceptable to question the U.S. relationship with Israel? Using your own logic.
I don't agree with him. I don't agree with him.
But do
I
you
think you can,
No,
but not
let's
in
be
an
clear.
anti-Semitic
We need to be clear
fashion.
about one thing, though. We have to be clear about the fact that this is not a genuine concern about anti-Semitism by those who are smearing Ilhan Omar. Because Donald Trump, meeting with the Republican Jewish coalition, said that they like to control politicians with their money, and this is why they're not going to support him. But you don't see that level of outrage,
that's
because
also
this is not a genuine
distracting.
concern about anti-Semitism. This is an attempt at closing the debate about Israel, because what we have right now is unconditional U.S. support for Israel, diplomatic and military, while Israel is carrying out massive atrocities against the Palestinian people, and it is time to change that.
And if you're going to talk over me, I will do the same over you. I have dedicated 4 years and thousands of dollars to fighting
anti-Semitism
anti-Semitism
I don't think that you have the floor all by
myself.
yourself. We certainly can have an exchange on here. It is not a reflection of American values to support Israel gunning down journalists and medical personnel and bombing civilian areas, all of which is documented by every human rights organization. These are not American values, and every American of conscience should be standing up against them and questioning politicians who are demanding blind support to Israel.
So what I hear in the other speaker is a way of veiling the rights of the human rights of Palestinians to shield the anti-Semitism of a neophyte novice congresswoman.
Come on, get over yourself. That's an absurd accusation.
Stop speaking
that is
over
an absurd
me.
accusation.
Just stop speaking over me. For God's sake,
so you just want to
listen
accuse
for
me
one
of shielding
moment.
anti-Semitism, and then you want to get away with that scot-free?
No, I am combating anti-Semitism.
There's nothing more contemptible than to trivialize anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is a real serious problem.
And
to trivialize it by throwing it around at people who are standing up for Palestine.
We got to end this here. Omar Baddar, Deputy Director of the Arab American Institute, and Qanta Ahmed, author of Land of the Invisible Women and Middle East Analysts. We thank you both for coming on and doing this.